Hello and welcome to the Hancock Creative Podcast. I'm Shawn Hancock.
And I'm Missy Hancock.
And today we're talking about lies, lies, lies.
Yes, that block your creativity and your life. So we're going to start today with a little story that our daughter, Tessa Raven Bain, did for a zine that her and her husband, Vinton Bain, have put together. And it's called Graphomania. You can follow them at Graphomania Zine on Twitter and Instagram. And it's really awesome. And I love this story. And it just happened to be, I was looking at their zine and I hadn't read this story. Well, she read it to me a long time ago when she wrote, or not a long time ago, but she read it to me when she wrote it, but I hadn't heard it for a while. And I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. So that's what we're going to start with. Once upon a time, there was a very old man who had a very long beard. He lived in a tree and told it stories all day long. The tree was his best friend. One day, a very short man with a very short beard saw the man in the tree laughing and asked him what he was laughing about and who he was talking to. The man answered that it was the tree. The short man shrugged and left, thinking he was just a crazy old man. That night, as the short man was laying in bed, he thought of how sad his life was and how nice it must be up in the tree away from everyone and how much he'd enjoyed time to think and drink tea. So the next day, the man went back to the tree, but the old man was no longer there. Instead, he found a welcoming ladder. The man climbed up and sat. He sat for a very long time, though it felt only a moment. He started to think of all the things he hated so thoroughly about his life when he heard a faint whisper. The whisper said, "That isn't true." For the man was thinking of what his wife had said to him that morning, a very mean thing, for his wife had a very ugly heart. The man was surprised, but not scared. He looked everywhere for someone who could have made the sound, but no one was to be found. When he had concluded that it was only his imagination, the whisper said again, "That's not true." For this time, he had been thinking how utterly insane he must be, and how one day they'd lock him away. The whisper continued, speaking truth after truth. The man merely listened. This man did have some very nasty things tucked away in his heart, but the whisper never seemed to mention these. The whisper didn't seem to care about those things. The man began to believe the whisper and the things it was saying. He began to change. He began to become the things the whisper told him he was. He came to the tree every day to listen, laugh, and occasionally talk to the tree. And every day when he went home, he told his wife she was lovely, for he began to see others as the whisper saw him. One day a woman came to the tree and asked the short man what he was laughing about and who he was talking to. Since he didn't really know, he told her, "The tree." Shrugging, the woman walked off, but as the man left the tree that day, the whisper came with him. The next day the woman came back to the tree, but the man was not there, so she climbed up. The end.
Aw, that's nice.
I know. It's such a good story. I love it. And I wish so much that we could all just climb up into a tree and get our head on straight and then carry a whisper away with us and everything would be better.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't. And so we can at least try to bring our own whisper into our life.
Right.
But first we got to figure out, what are these lies?
Yes, that's what we're exploring today, are the lies that we tell ourselves. And we need to whisper into our own ears the truth. So let's address some of those lies. What are some of the lies that we tell ourselves?
There's like core lies.
Core lies.
Just kind of...
And there's really not many. There's not many core lies, but there doesn't have to be. So some of those, and everybody has their own that really beats on them. I don't know what you know.
Affect them, hold them back.
Yeah, exactly. Some of those are that we just thought of are, I'm no good, I'm a screw up, I'm bad, I'm a failure, I'm poor, I'm ugly, I'm unwanted, I'm unlovable, I'm worthless, I'm stupid, I'm alone, etc., etc., etc.
Aw, those sweet little things we like to think of ourselves. When we're going to sleep at night. God, I suck. Yeah, something like that.
You're right. So, okay, so maybe you don't tell yourself that exactly, but maybe you would say something like, I'm going to mess this up, or I'm going to screw this up. Well, that comes from, feeling like you're a failure or that you're some screw up or something like that. And maybe you'll say something to yourself like, I'll never have somebody. I'll never find love, that sort of thing. Well, that's coming from this idea that you're unlovable. It's from this lie that you're unlovable or that you're worthless or that you have no value or things like that. So the lie that we tell ourselves every day and many times a day doesn't really sound like you're being that harsh, but it really does come from a place that's a core lie, just simply like, I'm bad. So you might say, well, that was selfish of me, or that's selfish, or something like that. Well, that's coming from a core lie, which is, I'm bad.
What brought our mind, I think, recently to core lies, or at least my mind, was a friend of mine was talking to me the other day, and she said she was really discouraged, and she said, well, I screwed it up like I screw everything up. And it's like when she said it, like, I mean, she kept talking, but I'm thinking, alarms are going off in my head. I'm like, she really believes this. This is like a core lie deep in her that she believes that she's always going to screw it up. And so I told her later, and we talked about it, and she was like, you're right. I think I do believe that. And so, I think she's trying to not believe that about herself.
Right.
And it's not like you just say, well, that's not true. I'm not going to believe that anymore. Right. And it's all better. It's like a journey.
Yeah.
It's a process to stop believing these things.
And for me, my personal lie has always been, and I've gotten some control over it, but my lie has always been, I'm stupid. And those kinds of lies, they just sneak in real quietly. And that's one that is my personal favorite.
My personal favorite
it must be,
lie.
Because I tell myself, no, but actually over the years I've overcome that. And I'll explain here in a little bit how that happened. But
but what the lies do,
right?
I mean, they cause shame. I mean, it's attached to shame, and it's like if you believe I'm no good, I'm a screw up, I'm a failure, I'm unwanted, I'm unlovable, I'm worthless. You believe any of those things, well, you feel shame about yourself, and sometimes like things happen to us that reaffirm those lies that make it appear that, oh well, that's true. We'll have if you feel like you're unlovable or unwanted and your dad disappears, well, then that kind of reaffirms that, it's like, well, and it's not your dad didn't leave because of you. It's just something that is like in there, in your subconscious, that it just kind of reaffirms that. And so then there starts being shame, different things happen and you start feeling shame. That shame is just bondage. It's a prison that we'll keep ourselves in. And there's even like a common expression, have you no shame? Like shame is helpful or good or something. And I mean, say, it's just like, have you no shame? It's like, nope, none here. I don't have any shame. And because shame is it's not your helper. It's going to hold you back. It's going to keep you from living a full, rich, creative life.
Right.
And
it's disabling. It's comes from disbelief. And when you have disbelief, you lose all of your forward momentum. So
yes.
If you were trying to get something done or accomplish something, it's difficult because those lies are holding you back.
Some people believe that lies can start as early as the womb. And we have a friend that had gone through some exercises, and she's actually a doctor. And I mean, she's not tutti frutti at all, because some of this seems tutti frutti to say something like that. But she was trying to identify, she just believed, I'm bad. she was trying to figure out how long she had believed that. And she was trying to, go through exercises, trying to figure out where does that come from? I'm bad. And she felt like she chased it down to the womb. And it was just like, she felt like she had always believed that she was bad. And sometimes we take on the lies of our parents by the environment that we're raised in, by their beliefs. It's like you're raised in an environment that believes that you are poor and you'll never amount to anything. You're never going to have money, or you're stupid. You're never going to be as smart as the next guy, whatever. If you're raised in that environment, even if they're not telling you that, if they just believe that about themselves, right. Sometimes we adopt those beliefs. And so
it can come from classmates. It can come from, the neighborhood or whatever. It can come from people that you love, because we learn a lot from people that we love. In fact, I feel like that's the primary place that we learn is from people that we love. And so if people that you love feel that way about themselves, then you sort of take that on yourself. Well, how do you know? I'm just going to ask you this, Missy.
Okay.
How do you know that you're hearing a lie, or how can you identify a lie? And what's the difference between a lie and something that's just like an observation of yourself that's maybe, honest?
that lie that's like, you're fat. It's like you look in the mirror and it's like, well, shit, I am fat. I cannot deny this.
How can I deny the mirror doesn't lie?
The mirror doesn't lie. So how do you know something's a lie? A good way to do it is to use the other people approach, another person approach, or your best friend approach. Or it's to say, okay, would I say this to my best friend? Would I say this to my spouse? Would I, these things that are coming through my mind, would I ever hold my little toddler in my lap and say, you're so damn stupid. You're dumb as a rock. You
Some
poor
people
little
would,
moron.
I think,
No, well, if you do that crap, you better stop, because that's terrible. No. Most of us, the answer to that would be no. Most of us would be horrified to say even a quarter of the things that we tell ourselves. We would never say that to someone else. We would never say that to people we love.
And unintentionally, people do say that. They don't really understand the power that their words have, but their words do have power. And when you speak those words to a child or anyone really, they believe you. And you might just be flippantly saying, what you consider an observation or whatever. But, you have to be careful about the words that you speak to people. They could be curses. Not to be, over religious or whatever, but that's really what they are, is that it's a lie that they take on as their own, and they carry that with them because they love you maybe, and they feel like that you're telling them the truth. And to be perfectly honest, most people go through life always questioning themselves, and so if anybody has any criticism about them,
they take that as fact.
Yeah,
They're like,
they take that as fact. I remember, and I'm going off of the notes here a little bit, but I remember there was this church that we went to, and we were involved in a theatrical project with this church, and there was a little question. What was it? It was like a little box that you could comment box or something. Well, there was some sort of stupid, church. I don't know what it was, just nonsense going on. And so I just wrote on this comment.
Politics, yeah.
Yeah, politics. Yeah. So I wrote on this comment box all these critical things because I was just really funky that day or whatever. And I said these things that were not really directed to anybody specifically, but I did mention a particular pastor's name. And I put it in the comment box.
No, mind you, this is a mega church. So,
yeah,
it's like these are faceless church. People. Yeah, or not faceless, but they're...
But, I was just this peon attendant person
volunteering.
Volunteering. It was just and I was just ranting and just blowing off steam.
Not that he likes to rant.
No, not at all. And so we get a call from this pastor asking to have a meeting with us. And as it turned out, we went to this meeting. I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I don't know what's happening. And it was really
He had
weird.
Forgotten all about the card.
I had forgotten about it. What's going on? And he was really hurt by my comments. And it's like I didn't really say anything directly, but because I mentioned his name, he took it personally. And I realized at that point that it's like, it doesn't matter who the person is or what kind of position they have in life. Your words have an effect on people. Your words have power. And it doesn't matter what lowly place you feel like you're coming from. And it's like, I can't imagine. We have celebrities who will sometimes, read their mean tweets or whatever. That stuff is like hurtful. And I think we have to be careful about the words that we speak to people. We think that they're untouchable or somehow they're like beyond our reach, but they're not. They're real people with real
insecurities. Yeah. And so, that's good. The big problem, I think, with lies, I guess you could go with the approach of, so if everyone has lies, everyone's dealing with this, well, what's the big problem? We all do this, so what? The problem with believing these lies is that our belief can make our lives reflect that the lie is true. It's not that the lie is true, but but things can happen in our lives to really reflect that, to make it appear that they're true. An example would be, I'm stupid. I'm so stupid. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. I just mess everything up. I'm so stupid. And so you're saying that to yourself all the time. Well, it's like you go to study for whatever it is you're supposed to study for or whatever. And we are 45 years old. I don't know why we're stuck in school, but it's an easy example. If you're telling yourself I'm stupid,
the most tormental time of my life.
But if you're telling yourself you're stupid and you go and you're studying, you say, I can't do this. I can't do this. Well, then you can't. Guess what? You didn't actually fully apply yourself because you were so focused on not being able to do it. I'll never forget. I worked at it's a big chain, but they sell, DVDs. They rent it out back when people still rented
a
bookstore. I worked in the bookstore part, but yeah, it had the DVD rental and all that. And so I think I was sorting through returned DVDs or something because they had pulled me up from the book department, and I was helping in the front. And this girl I worked with was like, she was all happy. She's just in a really good mood. And she was really a Debbie Downer personality. And so I was pleasantly surprised that she was in a good mood. I was enjoying it. And all of a sudden she goes, oh, I hate this job. I hate this job. Oh, this job sucks. And before I knew it, it was like she had worked herself. We went from being happy, a laid back day. She had worked herself into a little bit of a total misery fest. And then someone came up to ask her a question. I think they actually may have been kind of complaining, and she was in a bad mood. So she was like short with them. And I was sitting here watching all this happen. And it was like, she was just in a good mood. She was just feeling okay about life. And suddenly she kept telling herself how miserable she was and how terrible everything was. And she created a terrible situation like in front of my eyes. And so, and it's like there's the whole law of attraction thing, and the idea that we can attract these things to us that will back up our belief, our core belief that's a lie. And so,
well, I don't even think you have to go that far. I think it could just simply be, it's just psychological. There's nothing, metaphysical about it, or there's nothing spiritual about it, or there's nothing voodoo or whatever weird about it. It's just the way that you interact with people because of the way you believe about yourself. So, you will magnify your own failures, your own screw-ups.
In your mind.
Yeah, in your mind. And completely ignore your successes. So, mentally you're keeping an account of your failures and not writing down your successes. And so you will shape your life according to what you've kept an account of. So like if you felt unwanted, if you believe the lie, I'm unwanted, you're not even going to go audition for the part because you believe
they're not going to. You believe they're not going to pick me.
They're not going to pick me.
Nobody wants me.
Yeah, or you won't go to a job interview, or you won't apply for a particular job because you're like, I'm unwanted anyway, or they're not going to want me. And you might not say those words exactly, but that's what you're believing because you believe that core lie that's in the back of your mind that doesn't really audibly speak to you, but it's just a belief that you have back there. So you have to like go dig that lie up to identify what's going on here. What is it that I really believe about myself? And if you believe that you're unwanted, that nobody's going to want you, that nobody's going to hire you, then you've got to address that lie.
Yeah. And you may be feeling like, because I'm kind of... I'm thinking like, when we were working on this, I'm thinking, wait, what does this have to do with creativity? We got to tie this back into creativity. But it's so huge to the creative life and to the creative person, to the person who's pursuing art as an entrepreneurial pursuit, for even if you're not at that point where you're making it a career, but you're just trying to be free in creating. It's so important, the lie thing, because your average creative person is likely to struggle with lies even more than those who are not pursuing creative lives, because the creative life is going to call you to make choices that are unconventional, that are a little, nonconformist decision making. Mm-hmm. And so there's the constant questions of your choices. Like when you choose something that's like, oh, wait, that's not what you should be doing. Okay, so say an example might be a writer who is like, okay, I really want to write. This is what I want. I see no immediate way to make a nice living writing. And, there usually isn't an immediate way in the arts that you're immediately, unless you go, are a teacher, you work for someone else. But typically, just pursuing your own creative endeavor doesn't pay out immediately. And yet you have to lay out the time, you have to put in the time that you're not getting paid. And so that is questioned by those around you. It's certainly questioned by your parents. So say a writer is like, I'm going to pursue this writing thing. And it's like, I make okay tips. If I'm just going to be a waiter. I'm going to keep waiting tables because I can do that in the evenings, but then I have so much time to write. Parents who have put you through college, or even parents who haven't put you through college, are going to be like, what the hell do you think you're doing? You did not do that. And so you're going to get questioned. And if you believe you have to be able to say, no, this is what I'm going to do. But if you're believing lies that you're a screw up and you can't make a good decision and you're dumb and you're not, you're just going to, or you're a failure.
So you're going to fail at this,
You're just going to give up and you're going to listen to people and you're going to let other people control your life. And then, 10 years down the road, that little thing is going to nag at you again. You're going to be like, oh God, I wish I was just writing. That's what, I wish that I had written. I wish if I'd done that when I said I was going to 10 years ago. So just believe in yourself already.
Right. Well, and
do it now.
And all those, the concerns that your loved ones have, it all comes from a, genuine, sincere place, but they don't realize that you have to go the extra mile with your own personal encouragement, because our society really has, and I think and still does, look down on the arts. They don't really,
not intentionally,
they don't encourage it because they still believe it's frivolous nonsense and there's no money to be made there. And a lot of times there's not, but quite frankly, there's a number of jobs that there's no money to be made there, especially right now, so why not enjoy doing the thing that you love to do? And you don't have to go 100% right off the bat. You don't have to quit your job and go be an actor or whatever right now. I mean, just do it whenever you can, or do it seasonally or whatever, but do it. And doing it is better than not doing it. And the point being is that you have to believe in yourself and identify the lies that you're telling yourself.
And that's how lies affect creative people, even probably more so than those who aren't pursuing creativity or creative lies.
Right.
Because people who totally have perfect jobs and perfect lives and perfect finances are not going to be questioned. They're going to be less plagued with accusations, and nobody's questioning their choices when they have a great 401k, Everyone's like, way to go.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they don't have lies to deal with, because they do. But society isn't backing up the lies they're believing as much, probably.
If they're lying to themselves, then they're kind of on their own. If a creative person's lying to themselves, they've got 10 people saying that's right, you can't succeed at this.
Yeah.
And
so stop it.
So we have to work the extra mile to defend our creative position, I guess. I don't know. But how do you go about identifying the lies and confronting the lies? And like earlier, you had mentioned that when a friend of ours said something, your alarms went off. How do you develop an alarm to hear lies like that? It's easier when somebody else says it than when you hear your own self.
Well, I think you be sensitive to how you feel, to your feelings. Usually it's like if I start spiraling into some kind of woeful depression, if I wait and go, wait, what just happened? I felt fine 20 minutes ago. What just happened? And you can almost always pinpoint something, some lie that like something, some little thing that happened that someone said or that you heard that made you go, oh God, what am I thinking? Who the hell do I think I am? Whatever, you can find that. And you just have to start monitoring yourself and monitoring your emotions and try to take charge in those places. This is, like I said, it's a process. So you notice, oh, I just suddenly got depressed. What was that? Take a second to figure it out. Jot it down. Keep a little notebook. It's like, what are the lies I'm believing? I wrote, I don't know, been maybe a year or two ago now. And it's like, I've been going through this for years. And so I thought, I pretty much got my shit together. I didn't really think that, but I thought I got this lie thing figured out. I don't, I don't lie to myself without checking it. And I realized I sit down and wrote this thing. It was like, oh my gosh, I just poured out everything, all the emotion that was balled up in me. I poured it out, and it was so like riddled with lies. So I had to go back through it and be like, write a truth counterpart, and I went through and I wrote like basically a statement of faith, not that didn't have anything to do with my faith in God or anything, but just in me and in being and what I believed was true, and had to come, and so I wrote that down and I started reading it every morning. It's like I try to journal when I can, and for years I journaled every day, and I'm working my way back to that. That's me finding my creative self again. It's always a journey, but it was so freeing to me. I was like, wait, this is a lie. This isn't true. And I think that's how you do it. You just make yourself examine yourself. And that seems so narcissistic and annoying. And most of us don't have time for that crap. But it's like, if you want to move forward, you got to get these things under control so that you can move forward, so that you can feel free and able. Well,
you say that it's narcissistic, but at the same time, so is days of depression.
Oh, that's true.
Moping around in bed or whatever and not doing anything just because you hate yourself. That's narcissistic. So it would be better to be, on the positive end of that and go and be productive.
Absolutely.
Than it would be to, hate yourself all day long or whatever. But in a previous podcast or previous episode, we had talked about what I was calling faith lies. And that's basically telling yourself a quote-unquote lie, something you don't believe about yourself, but stating it in faith, And I think maybe a better word for that might be a future truth.
Yes, rather than a faith lie. Yeah, for
a
sure.
Future truth. It's like you don't really believe it yet, but tell yourself that, and it will become true. It will be true to you. But a little trick that I used to do whenever
I like this one. I just learned this one today, actually.
A little trick that I would do, because mine, I said before that mine was I'm stupid, and I grew up feeling that way. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized, wait a minute, that's a lie that I've been telling myself since I was a kid. I don't know how far back that goes, but probably back to the womb. I don't know. But once I identified that, I'd start to hear it. It started to be more obvious to me.
Yeah.
And so I would hear myself say, I'm stupid. And then I would turn that lie into a personality, like somebody I could talk to. And so whenever I'd hear myself say, I'm stupid, I'd say, I'm not stupid, you're stupid. And so I was calling the lie stupid, which is kind of weird, I guess. But,
yeah, I thought it was really funny, but if it worked
It did work because it's like I turned it into a personality, somebody I could confront. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that I'm stupid. I'm not the one that's stupid. You're the one that's stupid. You're the lie. You're the one that doesn't belong here. And so it worked. And so it really helped me overcome my self-identity or whatever you call it as being stupid. And it really gave me confidence to overcome that. And, occasionally I still struggle with it, but it's something that I can confront because I know how to. I've identified. I've seen it. It's like, hey, I can pick you out in a crowd because I know who you are.
Exactly.
Because I've, seen you.
Well, and another thing, like we talked about earlier, would you talk to your best friend that way? Would you talk to your spouse that way? Would you talk to your child that way? That is something you can do when you're telling yourself the truth. If it's hard for you to tell yourself, no, you are lovely and lovable, and people like you, or whatever it is that if you can't say that to yourself, imagine if your child or your husband or your best friend was saying,
or Patrick Stewart, imagine Patrick Stewart.
Yes, imagine Patrick Stewart. What would you tell Patrick Stewart? You awesome
you're
human
amazing.
being. You're amazing. Yeah, that's what we would both do. We love you, Patrick Stewart. So
sorry, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean
that was not in the notes either. So I'm solely thrown off. No, but really, and so if you can't say it to yourself, you are saying it to yourself, but kind of see yourself as someone else, as a child, or and develop your truth with that in mind. And you have to speak words of affirmation to yourself. I'm good. I'm loved.
Yeah, and also surround yourself by people that are positive, people that will encourage you. And it sounds corny to encourage people sometimes, but if it's sincere, and a lot of times there's something positive we would like to say it to somebody, but we're afraid to say it because it will sound corny or awkward and create some sort of awkward position, situation or whatever. But
I am really good at that. I just tell people, "Oh my God, you are beautiful," and
it's different coming from
weird.
A girl.
Yeah.
If a girl's telling a girl that she's beautiful, nobody thinks anything about it. But if a married 45-year-old man says to a girl, "You're beautiful," my
like,
God,
creeper.
the world comes in.
But that's not entirely true because you can find ways. It's
you don't have to be creepy about it.
You can find ways.
You can say you look nice today or whatever. Yeah. Nobody thinks anything about that. That's fine, But you say something positive. But the point being is that if you are a person who's encouraging to other people, you will draw encouraging people to yourself, and then you start to weed out negative people because a lot of them just like to be negative. A lot of them just like negativity and like to be around it. So
yeah. Or bring them with you. If you can't bring them with you, you do sometimes have to distance yourself from them. That is for sure. I think this kind of ties back into our tree story. And that is, the whole killing people with kindness and love. One of my favorite little bits in that story was when he tells his wife, after he's been hearing all the truths, all the good things, he tells her, "You are lovely." And we already know that his wife wasn't acting very lovely.
She was not. She was not lovely. She was ugly. No.
No. But I just love that line. Because he would go home and he'd tell his wife, "You are lovely," because he was starting to see the world as the whisper saw him. And I think
he became a whisperer.
Yeah. So be a whisperer. Yeah. Be nice.
Be nice.
Be kind.
Be kind to yourself.
Absolutely.
Stop lying to yourself.
Thank you so much for listening to us. I hope we're not boring the crap out of you, but we're glad to be here, and we would love to engage with you on Twitter, Hancock Creative, on Instagram, Hancock Creative Shop. We also have a shop on Etsy where you can purchase items from us, and we would love to sell them to you. And we have lots of cool t-shirts and art and stuff like that. So just check us out, and thank you again. Thank you so much to Vinton Bain, our amazing son-in-law, for producing this. And and to the lovely Tessa Bain for her story. And you guys should totally go check out their art. VintonJBain.com and TessaRavenArt.com. And then they have Graphomania Zine, GRAPHOMANIAZINE. And so check those things out. And thank you and have a wonderful, wonderful day.